I know. It's
Well, man, I hate when she got that. What a guy. There we go. Yes, I do.
Yeah.
Is that about your time when you're older?
Yeah. The new role just changes things up like that, huh? That's a home thing, yeah, right, where it's distracted. Yeah. We're in this again.
Yep, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay. All right.
That's why it's acting.
In case he gets thirsty. It was Mountain Dew last year too. Big Mountain Dew guy, I guess.
Welcome, everyone. Thanks for attending today's men's and women's basketball media day. Wisconsin tips off the 128th season of men's basketball, and the 11th under head coach Greg Gard. The team has 6 returning letter winners, including preseason All-Big Ten John Blackwell, who welcomes 9 newcomers to the roster. Batters will begin the season ranked number 24 in the preseason AP poll. The season gets going this Sunday at noon in the red-white scrimmage here at the Kohl Center, and the exhibition season begins on October 24th with the Bad Boy Mowers series game in Oklahoma at Fiserv Forum. Coach, if you would give us an opening statement, then we'll take as many questions as we can get to.
Sure. I know a lot of you have been in a couple times already or saw us in Chicago last week. So, yeah, I like where this group is headed. I like the pieces of it. I like how they've bonded together. Obviously, we're still in installation mode and haven't really divided guys off yet in terms of who's going to be in what spot when. That'll be coming. But like I said from the beginning, I've liked how this group competes. We scrimmaged Saturday. They came down to the last possession in every quarter that we did. We did that last week. Same thing. I have seen just the competitive nature of this group, and it's been different guys, different days. But we got to continue to get better on both ends of the floor. And we'll use this week and then turn the lights on Sunday and let the fans see us as well. And then next week for Oklahoma, we'll use the most of next week to prepare for them. Questions?
We'll start right here with John in front.
I know you were saying that this doesn't change how you do anything, but the fact that there's more national attention, the fact that you're ranked, preseason people, in a lot of respects, it seems like in other ways. What do you think that says about this program that's maybe a little more on the national radar than it's been in previous years?
Well, I think it's always been on the national radar. I mean, it's just whether you're ranked or not varies from year to year and varies within the year. I think this program is very well respected nationally. I think it's been extremely stable and extremely consistent over the last 25 plus years. So that's, that whether you get ranked right away, how high you get ranked, really that's irrelevant. I mean, you still have to go play the games, as I've talked to the team about. And, we've been highly ranked. We haven't been ranked anywhere in between. You still have to go produce and get results. So, it's going to be a one day at a time, one game at a time mentality. I know that sounds a little cliche, but it's quite frankly how you have to go about it and how you have to approach life in general. Just take it one day at a time, and we got to do some things better today that I found on film from Saturday, and we'll drill those and break those down and see if we can get better at those things today than what we were on Saturday.
Nick?
Hey, Greg, I know we talked about a good amount about the freshmen at Big Ten Media Days, but I think John and Nolan both kind of were impressed with some of their professionalism and how those guys approach the game already. On top of their skill set, just what has stood out about those 4 guys in terms of their approach and maturity at such a young age?
Yeah, I think that one of those last words you used, maturity, is the thing I see with those 4 guys. I mean, obviously, Alexis and Hayden have had a lot of experiences worldwide and playing with their national teams and other teams they've been on. So I think that's expedited their maturity. And then with Zach and Will, they've come in humble, eager, hungry. They're both physically well advanced for freshmen. They bought in and dove in from day one when they got here in June, but I think they knew why they were coming here, and that, again, to go back to some things we talked about last week of when you recruit freshmen, specifically now in this era, you have to recruit the guys and get the guys that really want to be here and know that they have the long game in mind. And those 2 of those 4 really have been, like I said, really mature with their approach. I think there's different things that help each of them. Saint Belauskas and Jones, I think the experience they've had internationally has been huge for them. And then, like I said, those other two have come in with a very mature approach, so that helps them. They understand and they listen and they learn and they compete and they don't back down from the older guys, which is good. And the older guys respect that.
Well, you use two different starting lineups in the two exhibitions you had last year. I guess how do you expect to handle the rotations as you go through the preseason?
Well, I think there's 10 to 12 guys that could be in the mix. You know, idealistically, you'd like to be able to play 10. How each game plays out determines whether you can do that or not and to what extent. I think that's something will be working through, and not only the exhibition games. I did use two different starting lineups.
We didn't see the first one. I think you used Kamari.
Because I think Klesmet was still coming off his injury, so I didn't throw him in. You have better memory than I forget last year. So yeah, I mean, we'll work through rotations, and I have to learn, they have to learn, and we'll see where we are. But I like the depth of this group. I'm going to have some tough decisions to make.
Going back to the freshmen, each of the four coming with a different level of experience, what are the factors you're looking for from that group for them to see for?
Well, I think Palauskas and Jones, because of their international and their playing experience, has put them, I don't want to say, I will say ahead of, maybe not ahead of Will or Zach, but just ahead of your normal freshman. You know, Alexis is going to be 20 here in another, 40 days or so. So he's maturity-wise, he's a little older, a little more physically mature. And again, I just can't discount how valuable what they've experienced in the World Cups and the Euro Cups and the things they've been a part of. We'll see when we get lights on and we really have to perform in front of a crowd. But, what they've done on the court has been impressive. And then Will, I think he's probably the one of the four new guys that's caught everybody on the staff by surprise. Just how, I knew he was going to be big and get bigger as time went on, but he's been, from a physical standpoint, from run, jump, catch, rebound above the rim, finish above the rim. He's further along than I thought he would be. And he's really taken some jumps, here since June. So for him, again, when we get into live action and get into games, how does he respond? And Zach's just been, Zach's a bulldog. I can see Zach being a gamer. He knocked down big shots on Saturday in our scrimmage. So like I said, they all bring something a little bit different in terms of their skill set. I think Palauskas can play both post positions. Jones has been really good at the point, and at 6'6", 6'7", that's a heck of a weapon to have somebody like that that can handle the ball that well and make good decisions. And obviously Zach and Will specifically bring something that we don't have a lot of, and had a rim runner guy that big that can move like that in a while.
Hi, Coach. When you talk about navigating the new college environment, what is a non-negotiable when you talk about Wisconsin identity that you look for in a recruit, whether it's their fourth year with you guys or they're coming in for the first year?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think you start really and end with the quality of the people. And it's not only the quality of the individual, the student athlete, but also what we label as the external, the people around them, whether it's parents, whether it's coaches, whether it's agent, whether it's, people that are involved or in their inner circle. You just evaluate that. And I think we've always done really well with really good people. And what that entails is they have to understand that they're becoming part of something bigger than themselves, and they become us. We don't become them. So as they buy into that and understand that well before they get here, I think that attracts the right people. And that's why I think we've seen these guys come in, and it's you have to hit on that more now than ever. And you can't swing and miss just because you have such a transient nature of the roster, and you have to make sure that they're here for the right reasons, and you're crystal clear with them on, the opportunities, and you're not over promising and under delivering. You tell them it's going to be a lot of work and it's going to be hard, and but it'll be worth it in terms of accomplishing something as a team that that everybody wants to go after. So like-minded individuals in that locker room are really important.
John?
Obviously, a lot made about the tempo change last year. How much faster do you think it can get, and how important is it in terms of his skill set, in terms of pushing that tempo?
Yeah, I mean, I know a lot gets made of it. I mean, we were efficient. We got to the free throw line a lot. This team has a different makeup, there's not a John Tanjay out there, but there's other people that have different skill sets. So I don't necessarily put a stopwatch on them and say, it's about being efficient. And if you play faster in transition, Nick brings that element. I mean, Nick definitely has an extra gear that maybe we didn't have last year with as a point guard. So, but we've got to find that, that happy medium there. There's going to be, as I talked to him, it was either Friday or Saturday, he's got to know when he's on the interstate and when he's driving in a school zone, because there's, you can't speed in a school zone because bad things happen. So just understanding, when to and when not. And as a point guard, you have to have a change of pace. You have to throw a curveball and a change up here or there. So that's, I think, something. And then the people that are around him, the bigs getting used to where he delivers the ball and how fast it comes at you, and get ready because it's probably coming near your head. And then the other guys running with him, and he's not the only one. I think JB pushes it pretty well. Zach pushes it pretty well. Hayden does a good job of seeing up the floor. So I am more concerned with the efficiency than I am how fast it comes.
Evan?
We've just seen a lot of guys in your profession, including some, historical long tenured coaches getting out and deciding they don't want to navigate in this era. You've seen others jump to probably better NIL situations. You've been coaching 30 years now. Last 11 as head coach at Wisconsin. Most of your years have been with Badgers. Just what kind of gets you going to continue to do this at the same program?
The desire to compete, and I think you still boil down to why you got in this profession 35 years ago. When I took my first junior high job, it was a matter of wanting to teach and help young people, and obviously they've become older since that group of 13-year-olds back in 1990. But the favorite part of my day is when we walk in that practice court and the door's shut and we get to work and get to practice and teach and help guys get better. And it's still and I would ask, I'd hear head coaches when I was an assistant for those 23 years always say that was always their favorite part. And I can never figure out why they didn't say the game day, or why they didn't say all the bright lights and the TV and everything like that. And now I know. Now I understand why they said, because it takes you back to why you got in the profession. You got in it to be in the gym and a love of the game and helping people compete. And yes, you want to chase championships and win at the highest level, but the root of it starts with working with your team and seeing how you can get them to come together and how you can get them to buy in and see and believe and see what your vision is for them. I think that's ultimately the quest that each year brings.
No one's put a lot of work into being able to guard fives and just put money on. I guess what's your level of comfort in the depth behind him that there's another players ready to play that could guard the same types of guys?
Yeah, I think there's, I've 3 or 4 there that bring a variety of things. I think Belauskas probably brings a combination of mobility and physicality. I think Gray brings a level of physicality and a little different, a little more nimble with his feet. Garlock brings a tremendous size. Um, and then Greppy, I think, in that, if it comes to a point where it's an extremely big physical individual, I think they're still jockeying for position, so to speak, around that. But, I think there's different combinations. They all have to get better. And I think that's, we'll continue to work on that always, but it's not always the guy guarding the big too. That I know a lot gets made about the matchups, Mike, but it's the other pieces around. Is our ball pressure good enough? Are we squeezing gaps? Are we digging? We'll actually do a post dig drill today, where we can squeeze and put pressure on a post player that's starting to maneuver. So there's a lot more that goes into it than just, their big guy being guarded by our big guy. So there's other components to it. There's some of it is an individual matchup, keeping the ball out of position, out of the post as much as possible, keeping someone off the glass as much as possible. But the other four pieces around that individual are really important to make sure that guy's effective.
When it comes to tournament success, it feels like it's one of the most volatile things in college basketball.
Mhm.
After the year that you guys had last year, how did you play into the season? And how do you kind of move forward from that?
Yeah, I mean, it comes to a crashing halt, right? I mean, you have a last second shot that you don't convert on and you go home. So it's college basketball, I think, has the most, because, and it gets its March Madness name, rightfully so. You have 68 of the best teams that play in a one-game playoff. If it was a one-game playoff with the Brewers and Cubs, we would have never went to Chicago, right? We wouldn't have had Game 5 Saturday night, which good luck to Pat and the crew starting tonight. So there's so much drama and pressure put on 40 minutes. And you're going to play really good teams anyway, but if you have it took us in that game, it took us a while to get going, both ends of the court. We just couldn't get our footing. And we were, day late and a dollar short in terms of coming up on the right side of the score. So you have to play at a high level for extended periods of time. You have to be really good and really consistent. And then you got to do it again, and then you got to do it again. So yeah, you see there's more parity in men's college basketball than there is in any other sport. Now we'll see if the trend continues. The mid-major has had a hard time last year in the NCAA tournament. I had my theories of the portal and NIL has kind of tipped the scales in the more of the Power Fours direction, but there's a lot of really good teams, and the portal has created a lot of balance. It's spread players out, so you fight like crazy to get there, and you want it the highest seed possible. That's goals down the road. The first one here is we get into the non-conference and play as well as possible and try to win that tournament in San Diego, and then get ready for regular season of the Big Ten, and then we march through that. When you get Big Ten tournament, then if you play well enough, you get to go to the NCAA tournament, and everybody always gets wrapped up in that March, and rightfully so. I get it; it gets a lot of eyeballs, but if you don't play well in December, January, February, you're not going to be there in March. So and there's so many good games and so many good experiences that happen that if people start just tuning in March, they've missed a lot of really good basketball, and you'll see a journey of a team. The story gets written as you go through those 4 or 5 months.
Greg, whether it's the returners or the newcomers that you have, what do you think the mark that last year's team left? What do you think that mark that they left on these guys influences them to keep performing that level or push even further?
Yeah, I think those were, all 7 or 8 of them did a really good job of being team first guys. And they put a lot of work in. They were very unselfish. I mean, they're all still to my knowledge, they're all still playing. You know, I know um, one, Hodges, is playing at Montana State, and the rest are all playing professionally. Klesman's coming back off summer ankle surgery, so he's still in the process of working his way back to full throttle from that. But everybody else is still. Am I missing anybody, Patrick?
No, everyone
I think everybody is playing. So Kamari's in Bosnia, Gilly is in the Netherlands, Marcus is in Estonia and playing really well from the latest report I got. He's probably going to be on move to a team maybe in Latvia. Obviously, Tanjay's with the Jazz, Steve is with the Jazz. Miss anybody? I think that's everybody. So the thing with that group is how they bonded together. That group really wanted to win and play for each other, and that's what made them special.
go back.
Thanks. Greg, I wanted to ask about your tournament coming up in November a little bit. Just the evolution of MTEs now that the Players Era Festival has kind of disrupted a lot of it. Atlantis Field, the Maui Field tournaments you played in recently, and
Right.
Kansas was going to play with you all in San Diego, but is now playing Players Era.
Right.
I kind of just wonder what you either envision the future of that, those MTEs and that time of year is going to be, or what you would like it to look like.
It's changed immensely overnight, quickly, as you've seen. The MTEs, because and now we've changed. There's been a rule change too, where you're allowed to, you play X number of games, 32, and that's it. Going forward after this year, so you don't have to be in an MTE to get extra games. That was always the advantage of being in an MTE, was you would get an extra game or two, and obviously you'd see great competition. But the neutral site games have really become prevalent. You mentioned the Players Era. There's others that are, they're the goal behind them or the motive behind them. Obviously, we're in, it's not ignore the elephant in the room. NIL resources are important. They're vital. And those opportunities provide probably a bigger platform for that maybe some of the MTEs haven't been able to swing as big a stick yet, so to speak. So I think that's why you're seeing the transformation or transition to a lot of these one-off games happening everywhere. That combined with the rule change doesn't necessarily lock you into having to go to an MTE each year. So I think that's still being written on where this is going to go. Are the one-off neutral site games still going to be the most financially, I guess, best way to do, most financially enhancing for each program? And you have to evaluate that. We're already in discussions and evaluating opportunities for next year, both MTE and single game neutral site type of contest.
Hey, Coach Badger fans got to see John Tanjay emerge and grow into the best version of himself in his only year as Badger. What does a story like Tanjay say about this program's ability to develop its players and help them reach their full potential?
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, it starts with John coming in very open-minded. I said many times coming into his 6th year, his 3rd school, that he could have easily come in with all the answers, knowing he only had 8 months to go. And he was the complete opposite. He asked a lot of questions. He had an extra notepad in addition to the notebook that every player has. He was constantly taking notes. He was constantly watching film. He just bought in and he listened. And he didn't try to force his way into the chemistry of the team. He let it happen organically. And his teammates did a great job of welcoming him in. And then he continued to get better. He was a great listener. He asked the right questions. He worked on his game. He was in the gym early every morning. He had a routine that he stuck to, and just continue to work. And that's what he's got to do now too with Utah, is to continue to work and improve his game and continue to find ways to impact that team just like he did with us. So it really starts with his unselfishness. That's, if you're willing to listen and learn and be unselfish and commit yourself to be a part of something bigger than yourself, as I said before, good things are probably going to happen. Doesn't guarantee it, but it puts the odds in your favor quite a bit.
Payne and then John.
Coach, just talking on some of the transfers, it seems like Andrew Rohde is a guy that can kind of be a do-it-all type of player. Just what is his sort of dynamic skill set bring to that court?
Yeah, I think, ironically, his best skill set maybe is passing. I mean, I think between Nick and JB and Andrew together in the backcourt, they all kind of complement each other. They're all a little different from the other. But Andrew, I mean, the size and his experience, I think, really jump out. He's got more toughness to him than I would have thought from the outside looking in, watching him over the years. But the one thing I've noticed is his vision and his comfort playing in ball screens and his ability, and much like Hayden Jones, when you have a guard that big, there's a lot of advantages to be able to play over the top of a defense and kind of periscope your vision and see over people. So I like he's really comfortable with the ball in his hands in ball screens and for the most part, makes really good decisions. So he obviously does other things really well too, but I think the passing is one thing that's kind of jumped off the map, off the page from the start.
John.
Going on to that TE question, kind of schedule overall, it seems like after that BYU game, that's kind of started a month of, some really good challenges. What was kind of your overall philosophy to put together this year's non-con?
Well, it starts with your games that are locked in, Marquette, where that goes. You're going to have at least 2 Big Ten games in December. We did have some discussions at the league of trying to play more in December and take some of the pressure off January 1st and beyond with a couple less games, but that didn't happen. So, and then you're looking at what your opportunities, and again, this changed so fast with the NIL landscape and knowing we wanted to maximize resources, and even the Oklahoma game came on the table late in the summer, and it was something that obviously we've never done that before. We've always done a close scrimmage, and I think it was too good of an opportunity for a multitude of reasons to turn down. Villanova came on a game at Pfizer, but we didn't necessarily know it was going to be Villanova. But that was an opportunity. So I would say, typically we would schedule out years in advance, and now because the landscape has changed so much in terms of what the opportunities each game or each venue or each event organizer may provide, that you're probably not doing it in a long range plan like we had in the past. So it's you're a little more flexible. You want to stay flexible and not lock in unnecessary games too early, knowing that there's probably some other bigger opportunity looming out there.
Thank you, Coach. Quick
Okay.
schedule update for the rest of the day. Men's basketball players are now available upstairs at Gate A in the concourse from 2:33